Alright guys, so I just wanted to give you all a update on the Cummins diesel 12 valves, like a 96, 97, something like that. But basically it is parked because it has a huge oil leak, and I'm not too happy about it. I've been doing some research and things like that. You know, diesels are known for leaking and things like that, but it started spewing oil all over the bottom, all over everything. The last video I did was doing the Rhino line on everything because it was rusting up. This is my grandpa's truck, and when I got it from him, it's completely stock and all that, and I wanted to you know, just fix the paint, keep it from rusting, and basically drive it as long as I possibly could. Put some lights on it, painted it, didn't worry about the inside of the bed. And it's holding up pretty good. It's a couple years that it's been on there, 2-3 years, and the only real issues I've seen so far with that is with it flaking off on the hood here. But that's because somebody wanted to spray primer over the rust originally on the hood, and I didn't get all the way down as far as I could on that. But other than that, it's been holding up really well. So Raptorline works great. Just as a follow-up on that, I ended up doing the front suspension, all the control arms. They're covered with oil right now, but tie rod, control arms, you know, everything, springs, upper and lower, and all that stuff, because it was really squirrely as it was driving, and it's so much tighter and easier to maneuver now. Did some shocks in the back, but that's the only thing you got to worry about. You know, the ball joints and all that stuff is all new. So I've done that, but I noticed that it was leaking a lot. You know, I'd have a few drips whenever you know, I'd park and things like that, and it'd get worse and worse and worse. And so finally one day I got off of work, and then there was a puddle underneath there. I checked the oil in it and made sure it was good, and said I'll get it home and worry about it and park it. And so that's where it's been a couple weeks now. So I'm not a mechanic. I've done a couple, you know, engine swaps, things like that, on some previous vehicles, but you know, diesel, this is my first one. So what I found out is that these are notorious for leaking in the front crankcase seal. So that bottom bearing down there, right behind all of it, there's a seal that starts leaking, and also around the timing cover. Can't really see it. I got a flashlight here, but around the timing cover, right there, there's a gasket, and that'll start to leak, and it'll get worse and worse. And a lot of people replace that. And so in order to do that, you got to take off the shroud, the radiator, the fan, all the pulleys on the front, take off the belt, and then there's a big cover under there. Thoroughbred Diesel has a really good video on how to do that, and I'm going to try to recreate it and go step by step. But these are also known for what's called a KDP, or killer dowel pin. Basically, on the front of the engine block, there's a dowel pin that that lines up this this plate right here, the timing cover. There's the front cover, and then there's the timing cover right there, and it actually has a dowel pin inside of it that'll vibrate out, hit the gears on the inside, and either kick it through the side of this cover, or it will, you know, just cause a crack or something like that, and or it'll maybe just drop down straight into the oil pan. It just kind of depends on the situation. It's really good to go ahead and replace that before it happens, but in my case it may have happened And the way what I'm really worried about is right there, you see some where it's been knocked off, and it's nice shiny metal right there. And that actually is the exact same spot that that killer dowel pin will kick out when it hits one of those gears. Hopefully, you know, it hasn't, but it's not looking too good at this point. So I got while I'm in there, to replace at least the front seal and gasket on all of this in here, I'm going to go ahead and replace the oil pump on there. The oil pump, the new one, original Cummins part, has upgraded flow, and it's higher volume that it puts out. Because I'm planning on putting more horsepower into this, I would like, you know, to make sure that everything's as good as it can be. And so I'm going to go ahead and replace the oil and then water pumps. Then the water pump is right, well, it's right there. So that water pump's not too hard, but you know, while I got everything off the front of motor, I'm going to go ahead and replace that as well. So also I noticed up here, right here, this front valve cover gasket is leaking right here around the front. It's not leaking at all back there. I'm going to go ahead and replace that one. And let's see what else. Oh, and then what I've done so far to this truck, as far as horsepower, kind of a different subject, is right here, right underneath there. If you take off this cover, there's lots of videos about it. If you take off that cover right there with that sticker on it, and you take it off, and then you grind down the fuel plate. I didn't do a 0 plate. I did it where it's a little bit of like a hook just still sticking out at the bottom. You use a bench grinder, things like that, make it real smooth. You can actually increase horsepower on this. And so, you know, I did that a lot. I watched a lot of videos about it and looked it over, pros and cons, and that's kind of like a no-brainer. Just grind it down, and it's just a throttle plate, so you add more horsepower just by doing that. But by doing that, you're also going to see some other issues that you may have. I also cut off the muffler and the things like that, you know, just to get rid of some of the restrictions until I buy some exhaust on here. But that's what I'm dealing with, and I will update you as I'm doing it. So appreciate y'all.